That sounds good. Hey, everybody. In case you don't know my real name is Rachel Midthun. Mike came up with a nickname for me, and I got started in this business around last May. I was in a position in our life where my new fiance, he wasn't working at the time, and his company went under because of COVID. So we were in a position where we thought that we were moving, and I have a professional organizing business. I've had a professional organizing business for about 6 years, and I love it. I absolutely, enjoy it. I love my clients, but it's just not something that I can pick up and move every single time that we move. So I was looking for something that, I could do it on a very, very flexible schedule. I could start it part-time. I definitely didn't want to do anything where I had to like recruit friends and family. I just wanted to be able to make the money myself. And I didn't want to do anything building an online business. So that really left super limited options. Mike was actually the one who shared this idea with me. And when he told me, I was like, I'm good. Thanks anyways. But he just, he's relentless. So eventually I got involved. Thank God I did. Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Arcadia. Thank you, Boston. I wouldn't be here right now without the three of you. And it's really turned into something special. And I'm so grateful for this opportunity. I love this company. I love everything that we've been doing. And like Mike said, my first month in this business was really, really rough. Like, it was horrible. And to the point where on my 10th appointment, I couldn't get a hold of anybody else except for this guy that I had barely met at a previous event. He was helping me in the home. His name was Sean. And I was hysterically bawling to this guy, Sean, that I'm like, I can't do this. Like, this isn't for me. I don't know what I'm doing. And he just really just kept pouring into me. And then I called Mike, and I would call Nick and Mark. And I mean, this team that we have is so special. There are so many dynamic leaders. I just hope that you guys know like what a special thing that we have our hands on right now. The biggest thing when I started was that I got an accountability partner right away. So if you don't have an accountability partner, you need to get one. I met this girl, Kay, through our big legacy life chat. Her and I got our license the exact same day. We were running appointments together at the same time. Like, we went through all of contracting together, and her and I would talk all the time. And I would also talk to my upline, which was Mark. But if I didn't, it's not Mark, it's Mike. If I didn't have Kay and Mike and Nick in the beginning, I wouldn't be here. And same with Mark. They just really kept believing in me. And you need somebody on those bad days, because there's going to be days that they're just horrific. Like, I still have them. I had one last week where I'm just like, what happened? How did I get here? Like, what did I do wrong? And if you don't have somebody on the other line that's encouraging you and loving you and supporting you, and, just reminding you that this is all part of the journey, like, this is part of your story. You have to go through this to win. There's no, you have to go through it. The only way through is through. So, and that's, there's a big learning curve with this business, but by my second month, my first month made around 2,500. My second month I made around 4,500. And then every month after that, I averaged around $5,000 a month up until family reunion. And I was doing this part-time, and I was happy with the results. I don't know where else you can go and by your second month be making around 5K consistently every single month. So that's exciting. That's fun. But I knew that there was way more in me. And I went to family reunion, or I'm sorry, it was, what's our last event? NatCon, National Convention, in January. And that's when everything changed for me. There were so many little moments in that event. I wrote down all the bullet points of just in that event that changed the switch for me. One of them was on the awards night. They gave over $1 million away just in Q4 bonuses from the insurance companies, on top of what these people were already making every month. Like, where else do people do that? Another thing was I would see the people walking across the stage, and nothing against these people, like literally nothing against them. But I'm like, that one? No. And then I would hear them like post Facebook videos, and I would see them talk, and I'm like, no, you're making $20,000 a month. okay, if you can do this, I can absolutely do this. And I hope that you guys, after this call, like, I'm not some polished, perfect speaker. Like, I haven't been preparing to speak my whole life. And, you know, I'm uncomfortable doing this call, but I hope that when you see that I'm just human, I'm just doing exactly what they're telling me to do. I'm following the system, to a T, that you can win, you can have results. You don't have to have a pointed head and pointed shoes and be Mr. or Mrs. Speaker or Mr. or Mrs. Saleswoman. In fact, I think that that does you a disservice. So after NatCon, I'm not here to force or, push my beliefs on anyone, but I'm a really big believer of Jesus Christ. And I was praying and praying. I'm like, you know what, if this is the right opportunity for me, Lord, if this is what you want me to sink my teeth into, then just put a fire in me so big that I know that I should follow this path. And at NatCon, and when I got home, I had the belief that I knew that I could go do this. And you guys can go do this too. Absolutely. Like 100%. The people on this call that I'm looking at, y'all, like, there are winners on here. So, when I got back, I invested in a lot of leads because I was afraid to. I'm like, that's a lot of money. Leads are, especially the brand new ones, they're not cheap, but the return on investment of those leads is huge. Like, it's crazy. So Nick got on a call one day and he said, just do 20 appointments for 4 weeks in a row and see what happens. You'll be surprised by how much money is in your bank account. And I was like, okay, I just got to do 20 appointments for 4 weeks the month. I called Mike and Arcadia and I said, you know what? I'm just going to do 20 appointments for 4 weeks and see what happens. And if this business works, I'm going to keep going with it, but I'm going to give it my all in February. I'm going to put all the distractions aside. So I flipped it. Whatever I was doing with organizing, I flipped my organizing and my insurance schedule. So I did very, very little organizing, way more insurance the month of February, and it paid out big time. Like Mike said, I think I issue paid like over 22,000, and that was my biggest month by far. And then this month, just within the first 2 weeks of March, I issue paid, or the first 3 weeks of March, See, I can't talk, y'all. It's like over 27,000, and I've been distracted as heck the last week and a half. I had a birthday, I got engaged. Like, I'm very distracted right now. But in my heart, I'm like, I got to get back on this because I decided that this is the path for me. And so when you decide something, when I decide something, that's it. Like, I am going after this no matter what it takes. And so when I'm not doing dials on Monday, I have guilt. I feel uncomfortable. I'm like, I don't like how I feel. Because I know that I'm not going to have the results that I need to have if I'm not doing the dials, because I won't be running the appointments. And I'm also a really, really structured person. Like, I don't do well without a routine and without structure. And so if any of you guys are like that, or if you're not, like, I just believe that you really have to have a routine with this business. Put all your distractions aside, get out of the house. If you have kids, don't be making dials at home. Like, go to the library, go somewhere else, like a coffee shop, somewhere where you're not doing the laundry in the middle of your dials. You're not, whatever the heck it is you're doing, scrolling Instagram or anything else. Like, it's just, your dial time needs to be sacred time. And I really have done that the last 6 weeks of just being super focused when it comes to dialing. And then also very, very intentional about how much work I'm putting into the business and how many appointments I'm running every week. So the goal is at least 15 to 20 appointments every week. Now, there's a lot of weeks where I fall short. I'll set those appointments, but things will come up where, in the last 6 weeks, especially, I've had a lot of referrals, and that's been incredible. I absolutely love the referrals. Referrals are like the easiest sales that you can have. But it's not the same kind of dialing for referrals as it is for brand new leads. But I am a note taker, y'all. Like, I take notes on everything. Every time I talk to Nick, Mark, Mike, Dan, Dave, anybody, I'm taking notes. Like, I'm always like, hang on, can you just stop really quick? I gotta write that down. But let me just go back. If you're not registered for Family Reunion in June in Reno, you need to get registered. Like, I don't care what you've got going on that weekend. That is the most important thing in this business to win, is getting to these events. It's getting on these calls, of course. It's talking to your upline, it's doing the right daily activities, but it's getting to these events, because that, like, this isn't an event that's just like rah, hype me up. You get to meet carriers, like our carriers that we represent. You're going to, hear the nuts and bolts of how to sell the insurance. You're going to get to meet all the top earners. And at that event, like every event that I've gone to so far, I network at. Like, obviously hang out with your team, meet your team, do all that kind of stuff, but also meet other people. Like, one of the biggest things that I had at NatCon was I met this girl named Michelle Colin, and Michelle's like 6 or 7 years younger than me, and she's absolutely crushing it. She worked at FedEx before this. So when I heard her story and I just saw how she was winning, and she's very similar to me, like our personalities are really similar. I don't know if you guys remember her from the call, but like when I met her, I'm like, that I need to hang on to this girl. Good, Lucas. I'm glad to hear that. Yes, absolutely go to the events, but network while you're there, meet the carriers. Like, guys, this is a business. And I see a lot of people who don't treat this like a business. Like, they really honestly treat it like a hobby, and it's going to pay you like a hobby if you treat it like a hobby. So definitely get to Reno. I don't care what it takes. You can sell some policies and afford to go. The next thing is after NatCon, I came back and I really just reevaluated how I was doing my appointments. And I've never run appointments with anybody. I've never gotten to shadow anybody. I live in the middle of nowhere, West Texas, where I'm 5 hours from any major city. So I didn't really have the luxury to do that. But I also think that has served me in a really big way, because I haven't ever tried to go into an appointment and be Mark. I haven't ever tried to go into an appointment and be Nick or be Mike or, be whoever your upline is. You need to be you. And as you can see, I forget what I'm saying halfway through my sentences. I say, like, I'm not some polished salesperson. Like, the biggest thing that I do before every single appointment, when I pull up, first of all, what are you listening to on your way to the appointment? What are you saying to yourself? Like, who are you talking to? Like, you need to be listening to good things. You need to be talking positive. But when I get to that house, I put my game face on, and it's like, I'm here. I mean, I pray immediately. I'm like, Lord, I just want to serve these people. I want them to feel that I'm here to be a resource for them. And I want to be a servant to them. And so when I walk into their house, I walk in calm. I walk in to literally be a resource, not to sell them something. I'm not there to twist their arm or try to convince them to buy insurance. I want to be a vessel, and I want them to feel Jesus through me. Again, I'm not here to, push my values on you, but that's been one of the big things that has really changed for me in this business of like, I have to be my authentic self, and I have to, let God come through me and work through me, because I just feel so much better about every appointment that I let go of ever trying to worry about like how much premium I'm getting. I don't care. And I have, appointments where there was this one guy, his name is Hobart, and y'all, Hobart I could not get him I sat down with him, and then I couldn't get back to sit back with him again until about 5 weeks later. But by the time I actually got to sit with Hobart, he's like, Rachel, there's something different about you. You need to cover the rest of my family. Like, I can't sleep at night because I know that my family's not covered. Can you please help my daughter? So I go and I help his daughter, Portia. Portia's got 5 kids. Portia's like, you've got to help my mom. She's, divorced from my dad. She's got other kids. She takes care of some of my cousins. Can you please go help them? Portia leads me to her mom. Her mom, Ruth, ends up leading me to, in that house, I sold 8 policies. And again, some of these policies, they were baby policies, like tiny. But I don't care how big the policy is. I don't care how much premium I'm getting. I'm there to serve them. I'm there to care about them. I'm there to love them. And they feel that. Like, I have so many people after appointments tell me like, there's just something different about you. Like, don't ever let me let this go. Like, this is so important to me. I've had people tell me that they love me. And that, sorry, ADHD, but that one appointment with Hobart, it was one lead. It was a $40 lead. It led to 18 applications. And I'm still working through the referrals just from that one family. And this isn't like a one, Dan called me the other day, like, hey, how are you doing it? And it hasn't been like and he's on the call. Hey, Dan, it hasn't been like a one-time thing where the family, they refer me to other people. It's like, if they like you and they trust you, they're going to refer you. And then when they say, for example, this couple, Lupe and Ronaldo, they were like, oh my gosh, you got to sit down with our daughter, Kimberly. She has 4 kids under the age of 5. They just got Gerber policies. And I was like, okay, what's Kim's number? And she's like, oh, well, she's super busy. I'm like, oh, that's fine. Don't even worry. Like, what day is best for her? And she's like, Tuesday. I'm like, okay, awesome. Next Tuesday, I'm going to call Kim, and her and I are going to figure out what's absolutely best to make sure that Kim is covered and her husband's covered and all 4 kids are covered. So if anything ever happens, your whole family is protected. You never have to worry, Lupe. So when there's referrals, guys, don't wait for them to call you. You need to get the number. Okay. Like, here's my activity book. I have all of these sticky notes are referrals that I need to call, because I'm like, I've got to call these people. Like, they're waiting for me to call. Also, sometimes when I'm in the house, depending on the family, and how far down the chain I am, as far as like how deep in the referrals, I'll have them call. And oh my gosh, I wish you could have heard this lady, her name was Ruth, when she called her sister. Like, I've never been edified so well in my whole life. I mean, she was saying the nicest things about me. She's like, you've got to let Rachel come over. I mean, she's all these things. And in that moment, I'm just like, I love what we do. I love it. Like, and I leave appointments and I'm screaming and I'm like on a high. I call Mike after every appointment. I'm like, oh my gosh, like, this is so amazing. I like this. Or, I sat down with a couple who, the husband's on a liver transplant list, and shout out to Hannah Townsend if she's on this call. But that's a big thing. That's a big thing. And he has been denied by like 5 or 6 other insurance carriers, and we got him first day coverage with Forrester standard plan. Right? They were crying at the end of the appointment. I was screaming. I was like, I'm sweating right now because I get so excited about helping these people. Like, I can't explain it. It gives me a high, and I just want to keep doing it and keep going and help more families. And yeah,
Hey, Rachel.
What?
Okay. You're doing unbelievable. And these people can tell why you're so excited. But I'd like to go back a little bit further, because I remember when I started running appointments and was making no sales. And when you started, do you remember when I was like, hey, did you make any sales today? You were like, no, but I'm close. And then you asked me and I said, no, but I feel like I'm getting, at what level, when did you feel like you were starting to get good? Like, how many appointments? I know for me, and I always post it in the chat, it was 30 to 35 appointments. You're in a groove and you have what's called momentum. Most people, they go too slow and they'll never get momentum, because there's a difference in doing 30 appointments in a month and 35 days and then doing 30 over 6 months. It's like taking an airplane off. An airplane has to go full throttle to get off the ground. And even though you might make the same 6 sales in 30 days, those 6 sales might make you $4,000, but you've learned so much so fast and you've become so confident. So can you talk about, once you decided to up your activity, what it did to your confidence?
Yes. I mean, it was the mindset switch of, I can do this no matter what. And then I started running the appointments. And after my first week, I kind of still doubted it, because I'm like, okay, I just got lucky last week, like it was just luck. Only like Mark and Nick and Mike are good at doing this. And then the second week happened, and I called Mark because I was so discouraged. I was like, my goal was to run 20 appointments this week, and I've only run however many it was that week. And he was like, well, how much, did you submit? And I told him the number, and he's like, who cares how many appointments you ran? Like, That's amazing. This is great. Like, just keep it up. Keep going. Don't stop now. Like, don't, yes, you've had a good last few days. Keep going. Keep going. Like, don't stop just because you submit. Like, I made that mistake in December where I within 6 hours I made $5,200 and I'm like, okay, I'm good. I'm good. I'm just going to take the rest of December off. Like, no biggie. And I don't do that anymore. I don't have that mindset. It's like, how many more who cares about the premium? How many more families can I go help today? Like, how many leads can I do? And gosh, there's so many things to say. There's so many things to say. So Mike, keep interrupting me because I feel like I didn't really.
No, you're doing awesome.
I didn't really address your question, but the answer is do enough until you feel comfortable. Like, who cares what the number is? Do enough until you feel comfortable. That might be 30 for Mike. That might be 20 for Nick. That might be 100 for you, but it's the fact that you just don't give up. And that's why you guys, you've got to be on these calls every Sunday, no matter what. You have to get to these events. You have to have an accountability partner that is keeping you on track. And you need to have this book, I know you can't see it. It's called the activity book, where you're tracking how many appointments, how many calls are you even making? Because if you're not even making the calls, like, how do you think you're going to have success? And if you're not running the appointments, like, if you look back and you only made 50 calls and you ran 6 appointments and you only paid, or you only submitted 3,000 in business, well, look at those numbers, be like, am I happy with those results? And if you're not, then up it. And I know, like I had mentioned earlier, it's a little, this business is different because you buy leads. But you don't be afraid of the leads. Like, really don't be afraid of them. They are such good leads. There are moments and days and clients and leads that do suck. But like my first 10, I told you guys, I mean, I got somebody on the phone in every appointment and I still couldn't sell these people. Like, and there's just going to be appointments like that. So I know Mallory's had a really similar story to me. She's up and coming. She's doing amazing. Let me also just brag on this team for a second. Sorry, y'all. I feel like I'm so ADHD right now, but I'm so excited. The people that we have on this team, I hope you guys are getting out of your comfort zones and going to meet them, because iron sharpens iron. I call people who aren't my direct upline. I call Cody to say, hey, how are you doing this? I call Mallory. I call Dan. I call Dave. I call other people in the alliance when I see them winning. I don't care. I saw that Eric Belair did like a ton. And so I added him on Facebook. I started messaging him. I'm like, hey, I want to hear your story. Like, how are you doing this? And you don't have to be afraid. They're just humans too. Like, they have stories that probably relate to yours. And you've got to find somebody who motivates you. Like, I might not motivate a lot of you. You might be like, this girl can't even finish a sentence. But it's just finding like this. We have the right team. We have the right resources. Like, look at it, how far we've come just in the last 8 months of doing this. Or, if you've been in a month, like, look at how much this team has grown. And sharing, like, being able to share this opportunity with people, what a blessing. Like, what an absolute blessing. And if you're not sharing this with people, like, the only thing I can say is, like, shame on you. It's just this, there's people that are hurting, that are looking for opportunity. But you just have to, it doesn't matter how much you've done in sales to be able to share it with people. Mike hadn't made any sales when he told me about this. In fact, on the team chat, they were saying that they were trying to compete of who would make their first sale between me and Mike, and it ended up being Mike, but who's on top now? So just kidding, y'all. Him and I have a very friendly, competitive.
Yeah, she's whooping my butt. Okay, so let's do some technical stuff.
Okay, wait, hang on. Let me go back so I don't forget to say this. The other thing that I see other people doing, and by the way, you're doing amazing, Mike. It was just a joke. The other thing that I really have noticed is that a lot of people, they're not being prepared in the homes. And when I the night before my very first appointment and before every appointment I ever run, I am prepared. Like I have every single quoting tool bookmarked on my computer. So I'm not trying to fumble through the quoting tools. I have an Excel spreadsheet of all of my usernames and passwords so that when I have a carrier, I'm like, okay, no problem. This, obviously you're going to fumble your way through the apps. You're brand new. That's fine. But like, be prepared enough that you've got the tools to need, or you've got the tools to win. Text multiple people, or be using that in-home chat of before you're in the appointment. Hey, like I'm walking into a house, who's available? Like don't text your upline while you're in the middle of filling out an application and expect that they're going to be able to respond to you in 2 minutes when they didn't have any kind of a heads up. So it's just being prepared. Like, we have incredible resources. If you guys haven't heard of Mark Hutchinson's assistant, Eden, she can walk you through some of our brand new quoting tool. You can set up an appointment for that. Like she can walk you through the grids. She can walk you. And if you don't know what the grids are, that's okay. Like we're going to teach you guys, but it's just being prepared in these appointments so that you're not falling on your face if somebody doesn't respond to you within 2 minutes. So that was
Perfect.
my soapbox on that. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's perfect. That's perfect. And yeah, you're kicking some serious butt. So I want to do some technical stuff because no matter where you go in the country, you have the same, Nick gets the same objections I do. You get the same objections. People seem to think it's their leads. And obviously there's things that, one of the things that you do really well is you would call me after every appointment and you said, what would you have, actually you called me during the appointment. And if I didn't answer, you called Mark. And why the events are so important too. There's been times where I was in an appointment, Nick was in an appointment, Mark's in an appointment, Rachel's brand new.
Mm-hmm.
So when you went to that first event and you met Belle and you met, some of these Stephen Davies and you met some of these other people, Rachel made sales because she went to the event and she's met people that they specialize in this or they're top producers. Obviously we have the best in Mark Hutchison, but he can't answer all of our calls all the time.
Right.
So you have to use the system. They talk about using the system. Rachel, there's people that wait for it to come to them. Rachel goes out and makes it happen. She connected with people like that. We have someone new on our team that does Medicare. We need to connect them with Eric Belair because he just made, he made over 100,000 in January on that. So anyways, let's get into some technical stuff because we have people that are getting the same objections on the phone. Like I want to do some role play of what you do when you're booking appointments. And people can go back and watch all the dialing appointments. But what is your mentality of when you're doing your dials, even if you have brand new leads? I know you have a GMR, and I know you buy old leads as well. I know you just sold a $3 lead, a 1200 AP or whatever it was, a 2018 lead. So they all work. New leads work, old leads work. New leads are better, but they're more expensive. Old leads, you got to dig a little bit more. You got to work more. So when you can't get a hold of people, okay, when you can't get a hold of people when you're dialing, what's your process? Are you redialing the same numbers? Are you door knocking them? What's kind of your process when you can't get a hold of people?
When I can't get a hold of people, sorry.
Yeah, let's say you have a big batch of leads, you do your dial session and you just only get a hold of 1 or 2 people, or maybe you don't get the appointments you want. Are you going out door knocking? Like are you buying more leads? Like what's your next step?
I haven't had that happen in the last 6 weeks because I've had a big enough supply of leads to work and to run and to also, I'm not afraid to ask for referrals. But before, when I was at that point, and I actually had this on my little list of things to talk to y'all about, I was door knocking when I wasn't having the amount of appointments that I wanted, or say, for example, where I really wanted to run appointments, but I had an organizing day that went way too long and I wasn't able to make calls. Then I would go door knock, and there is money to be made in door knocking for sure. I just wouldn't bank my whole week on it. I wouldn't even bank a whole day on it. Like now that I know how much easier it is to, set the appointments and to have the appointments versus door knocking, because you can just frustrate the heck out of yourself with the door knocking. But I will tell you, there was this guy, his name was Clarence, and I could not get a hold of Clarence for the life of me. I tried for weeks and weeks. And so I ended up door knocking him. He was home. Long story short, I had to door knock this guy 4 different times. Like who does that? Who door knocks him 4 times? I don't know why. I couldn't, like, I loved his voicemail was funny, just everything about him. He was a cool dude, but I was like, I need to go back and help Clarence. So I door knocked 4 times. This was in July of last year. That day, he had a $10,000 policy. I got him into a $25,000 smart UL. He was excited about it. I saved him like $8 a month. He got $15,000 more of coverage. The week of Thanksgiving, his wife called me hysterically bawling that he had passed away of a heart attack in his sleep. And Clarence was 51 years old. Clarence was on 1 high blood pressure medication. Like, there was nothing, I would have never in a million years thought that there was something wrong with Clarence, or not that there was something wrong with him, but that he would have passed away. And after that lead and that moment, I was just like, look at all these. This is just one stack of leads. Like, how many of these have I not gotten to? Like, how many people are there that are just like, what if I hadn't gotten to Clarence? His family would have only gotten 10,000 versus, I mean, at least he had insurance, right? But his family would have gotten 10,000 versus 25,000. And I think that that's also why it's so cool to, recruit agents where you live, because if you don't have time to get to them, a brand new person might. And I don't know if that answers your question very well or not, Mike, but it's just like, I stress every Monday because I'm like, I got to get to these people. Like, I can't wait. These people need my help. Like, and I don't want some FFL agent getting to them or some, crummy agent. And that's also the thing about the people on this call. Like, I can promise you, just looking at the names of the people on the call, like 70, you're better than 75% of the other life insurance agents out there, period, because you care, because you're different, because there's something about you that you don't go in there just to sell them and to twist their arm. You know what I mean? Like, you just have to follow the system here. Everything that they tell us on these calls every single week, if you just do it, you'll win, for real. Like, you will. And I'm a pure example of that. Mike, does that answer your question?
Yeah, definitely. So you are door knocking and you're buying more leads. And what would you say about a scarcity mentality with leads? Because I know when I first got in, I was super broke, and obviously we work warm market and we work leads. At first I came in, I was like, I'm not going to work warm market. I did that for the last 9 years. Once I learned about how powerful insurance was, I was like, I'm definitely going back to my warm market. If I'm going out and helping these random people that have crappy life insurance, I bet my friends have crappy life insurance because these people don't know. Right. So, what is your mentality with stocking the store, like stocking your shelves, like getting enough leads? Because I know for me, when I had a week amount, like when I only had 2, 3, 4 leads coming in a week, or 10 leads or whatever, I felt needy. I felt more pushy because I was like, I only have this many. But if you have a large number of leads, you have more of a not caring mentality, because you're like, someone in here I'm going to be able to help. But when you have a small amount of leads, it's just like, fishing with a fishing rod as compared to going out into the ocean and having 2 giant nets, right? Yeah. So when did you decide to maybe up the amount of leads that you were getting and trust the process of the leads?
Definitely after family reunion, or I keep calling it family reunion, definitely after NatCon. I didn't care. Like, I got, we also, one thing that I haven't mentioned is our corporate staff is incredible. Like, you can call NAA headquarters and like be like, hey, I mean, you can talk to any department, but in specific, we have a department for leads. And there's 2 girls, Hannah and Ashlyn. They're both incredible. I called Hannah and I was like, I need to have a killer week. What do I need to do? So she's the one who's like, hey, you need this, this, and this. And I started looking through them. I'm like, I don't want those leads. And she was like, okay, then don't have a big week. So I was like, okay, let me get the leads. Whatever. I don't even care what it is. Just whatever you tell me to get is what I'm going to get. So she's like, I would absolutely get all of this, scoop them all. That's the word, scoop them all up. So I scooped up all the leads, and then I had a massive February. So I'm like, okay, let's scoop up all the leads in my area in March and see what happens. And it's just, again, what Mike said, it doesn't matter how old the lead is or how new the lead is. Somebody who filled this out a year ago might need it even more than somebody who filled it out 2 days ago. But it's not being afraid, because we had a call one time, probably many calls, but one in particular that I remember, they said, you need to make 250 dials a week to be very successful with this business. And at that point, I was definitely not making 250 calls, like nowhere near that. I mean, the most at that point I'd ever made, I think, was 100 calls in a week. And so I knew, like, I had to have way more leads in order to call to make 250 dials. I'm getting some questions. Mike, do you want me to answer those?
Role playing or objectives. Okay. So you're in the house. So first you have to book leads or door knock to get in the house. It's better to have an appointment. Obviously, if you can't get an appointment, you show up anyways. Some of my biggest sales are from door knocks because they just put the wrong number on there, or God knows what, or they just never answer because they get gazillions of calls a day, especially during Medicare season or whatever. So,
and you can't judge the house either, guys. Like, I've had some of my biggest checks. I had a check the premium was $180 a month out of a camper. The lady lived in a camper. I mean, and it was a $6 lead. So
to point you on that, I just got a referral last week from this lady who had cockroaches on my laptop while I was doing the app. Her social security is $840 a month. She's paying $286 a month for insurance. She keeps getting more and more and more. And it's stayed on the books, like almost 30% of her income's going towards life insurance. So you can never prejudge anybody. It's pretty crazy. So role playing, let's say when you get in the house and you're getting, go over some of the most objections that you get and then how you go over it. I know the things I get are, I thought it was a free blah, 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 blah. Somebody already came out and take care of it. We already got that taken care of. I thought it was a free government thing, or I don't even remember filling it out. Things like that. Go over some of the objections you get and then how you overcome them.
Okay. So, one in particular was, I just did this one. It was for Martin and Adriana Rico, and they, this was a mortgage protection lead. It was an A1. So it was an $8 lead. On the phone, they had told me that they didn't want me to come over, that they had just gotten this taken care of. And I was like, okay, well, with what company? And they said Americo. And I was like, well, who did it? Who came out? And they're like, this old guy from East Texas. I was like, what's his name? I might be able to get credit for it. It wasn't a guy that worked with our company. And so I was like, listen, you filled this out. I'm required to get this to you. It takes 5 minutes. What time are you home from work tomorrow? And he's like, huffing and puffing. Anyways, I get to their house. He's not even there. I don't even want to go to the appointment because I'm like, they already have Americo. Who cares? Like, what? I'm not even going to get him anything better, and this is literally a couple weeks ago. So I'm sitting outside and I can see that the tire marks of where he parks, that clearly his car is not there. And so I'm just like, God darn it. Well, I already drove 30 minutes. Let me just go knock on the door, whatever. The wife, she's like so cool. I immediately build a rapport with her. I start chatting with her about this business. The husband comes home. I look through their policy. It's decent. It's good. It's not like it was a bad policy. But at the end of the day, I got him Foresters, strong foundation. And his wife signed up for the business, and she hasn't signed up yet, but she referred me to somebody who signed up, and we're going to get her signed up for the business. So I got a sale out of it, and I got somebody local here where I live signed up for the business who's super excited about it. So that's just one objection of like somebody already took care of it. Another objection is
when they already have something and they don't let you look at their policy. And I know you do a great enough job building rapport that you won't get that a lot. Like they're just going to get their policy because they trust you. But let's say they're on the fence about getting it. What are you doing to get them? Because for you new people, once we get people's policies, 90 to 93% of the time, we're going to replace it because what they have is terrible. It's ARP, Globe, Colonial Penn, Primerica, something that's not good, that they think is good because they're paying a little about now, but it's going to go up on them, or it's just going to straight end. So when people already have these, what are you saying to get their policies, and how are you overcoming them if you get those objections?
So one of the appointments I sat down with, she's like, oh, we have Primerica, we're good. And I was like, oh, Primerica? I mean, again, every situation, like it's doing enough appointments, guys, that you learn the objections. And when you don't know how to overcome an objection, call somebody, text somebody, ask, like, how would you do this? And don't wait till you're out of the house. Like, please call in the house, or step outside, say, hey, you know what? I got to call my mom really quick. Like, I have an emergency. Like, do whatever you got to do. You know what I mean? Go to the bathroom, like text, whatever. But there was an appointment, this is also recent, that I didn't know what to do, where they had Primerica and I didn't know how to read the policy. There was like 50 pages. I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. So I'm like taking photos. But I'm always, in every single home, I have the exact same routine. Like, I mean, to a T. I don't ever change my routine. It's, I get in there, I build the rapport for 10 minutes, or 15 minutes, whatever it takes, where I know that they trust me. I know that they're going to give me their social security number. Then I'm figuring out, what do you already have? Go get that policy. Let's figure it out. From that point, then I'm figuring out, okay, what's your height, your weight, your date of birth, do you have any major medical issues? The major 5 are smoking, cancer, stroke, heart attack, and diabetes. And so I'm making sure to like ask all those questions, and then I'm finding out what medications they're on. So, okay, they're on, this list of medications, and right after the medication, I'm writing what it's for. If the client doesn't know what it's for, I'm Googling what it's for, because you need to know that in order to figure out what policy to get them. Again, if this is your first or second appointment, we're going to be there. We're going to help you. But eventually you want to get to the point where, you know how to do this. And it's going to take a little bit, and we're going to hold your hand in the beginning, but like, just try to learn it as quick as you can. Like, learn how to use the grids. Like, after appointments, sorry, Mike, I know I'm not even answering your question, but after the appointments, like, if I don't know how to do something, I'm researching online. What is this? Like, how do I do this? How could I have done that better? And then, I just feel like that really, really helps. And also, when I'm texting photos to people of, hey, I don't know what to do in this situation, everything's already outlined for them. Like, if there's a dual use medication, which means like gabapentin, for example, like that's very commonly used for diabetic neuropathy. They could have some other kind of nerve pain. I'm writing, hey, no diabetes, or something like that, where when I'm texting it to my upline, they know what the situation is, and I'm not asking them 50 questions, or they're not asking me 50 questions, vice versa, or if they've been on a blood thinner, how long have they been on the blood thinner? Like, things like that. And if you're brand new, I would also recommend watching, there's 2 videos of Mark that are just off the chain incredible. He does, I think they're both called like Insurance 101 or Insurance 102. And it talks about just the basics of insurance that you need to know. So as far as, okay, what's automatic guaranteed issue? What's automatic just maintenance medications where we can get them qualified with anybody? But to go back to your question, so when in the home with objections, it's just getting creative with these people, and it's pivoting when you need to pivot. And, like, hey, you know what? You filled out this form. I'm just required to get you the information that you filled out. Like, you just got to go get your policy for me so I can figure out what you got. And if you already have what's best, then we're absolutely going to leave it. I'm going to be the first one to tell you, keep what you've got. And I've done that in a lot of houses. But if I can't sell them something, then I'm setting up an ERS for them, an emergency response service, and I'm getting referrals out of them. Okay, who else do you know that needs help with this right now? I know that you're good, you're taken care of, but what about your grandkids? Do you have policies on your grandkids? Do your kids have policies? How old are your kids? Like, I mean, at that point, I know a lot of what their family situation is, but
and I'll give you a couple that I use, and then you can use some that you use. I told Mark some of the stuff that I do in the home, and what you just said was perfect, because you've done enough appointments where you get creative. So this is a form that says, new 2022 state Georgia representatives. And if you guys don't know how our leads work, when you buy a lead, you get access to it for 5 weeks and then it goes back on the website. So when someone's not willing to like, oh, I already took care of that, blah, blah, I say, hey, listen, Rachel, I work for the state. I work for all the insurance companies. You probably don't even need this. My job is just to look at what you have, make sure it doesn't go up, make sure there's no misprinted information in your application. Because if the agent accidentally clicked no on a question that should be yes, or if he didn't put your medicines in there, you could get your policy denied. And could you, I say, what's the worst type of life insurance on the planet? They say, I don't know. I said, do you know what the second worst type of life insurance is? The second worst type of life insurance is no life insurance. There's people out here that have to go to GoFundMe because they got no life insurance. And they're having to could you imagine, like, have you seen people that, you know, they had no life insurance? It's a disaster. And I say, you know, what's even worse than that is you thinking you have life insurance and you paying money year after year, month after month.
Right.
But because somebody accidentally clicked non-smoker and you're a smoker, it doesn't pay out. If that were to be true and you're looking up from heaven and your kids think they're getting this and they're not prepared, wouldn't that even be worse than not having it? My job, I'm not here to sell you something, is just to make sure everything looks okay. And I've had people that they're like, oh yeah, definitely. Because you're doing a service for them that not everybody else is doing. I had a guy last week that had his ex-wife on the policy who she divorced him. Like she cheated on this guy, took all his stuff, took his TVs. And he was like, no, you don't need to look. I'm good. Raheem, he's the beneficiary. It was his ex-wife who was the beneficiary. And the fact that I looked at his policy, he was like, oh, hell no. He goes, I just want to cancel it because, you know, she ain't getting that money. And I got him something better anyways. But had I just been trying to add on something or not do what's best for him, you know, there's little creative things that you can say. Listen, you filled out a state form for this Georgia state residence. My job is just to get you the information. You can deny me all you want, but until I look at your policy, make sure it doesn't run out, make sure it doesn't go up in price, make sure your beneficiaries are correct. And then I can get you to sign off that everything's good. I'm out of here. If I don't do it, your case gets moved to somebody else. And you're going to get phone calls every 5 weeks. And people are going to come to your house for the rest of the year until we close your case because you filled out a state form. I'm already here. Let's get this taken care of now. Right? And then in their head, they're thinking, hell, I don't want to get bothered the rest of the year. Might as well take care of this now. I came up with that on my own because I've just done enough appointments. I've been creative. Mark, a lot of the stuff he came up with it on his own because he's run enough appointments. Rachel, what's some of your techniques?
I think for me, the biggest, what do you mean techniques? Like techniques for what?
Techniques for like, just if they stop you at the door. I mean, I know.
They don't.
Okay.
I'm just kidding.
Well, us normal people.
It does happen. It does happen. No, it does happen.
Mortals something that, you know.
No, it does happen. It definitely happens. But I will say that being a female in this business does have its advantages. Definitely being a female in the calls, you know, when you're making the dials, people answer the call more. When you show up and do a door knock and it's a female versus a male, I feel like you're more likely to let a female in than a male. I mean, obviously males are going to win too. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying, don't think that being a female, you can't go win at the same level that these other guys are winning at. But I think the biggest thing for me is just being true to myself. It's being authentic. And I'm, again, like me not trying to be anybody else. And just like when I'm in the appointment, I'm so in the appointment. Like I'm so engaged with these people. Like I know they can feel how much I care about them. Like I think that energy is contagious. And when you come in with good energy and you're there for them, you're caring, they see how much, you know, you want to help them, then they'll let you. Now I still get my fair share of objections. You know, I'm getting less and less as I get better at this. And same with at the door. Like there's still some people who won't let me in the door. That just happened to me last week in Dallas. And I was like, I don't know what I could have done different. And that's just going to happen. And it's never giving up, no matter what comes your way, and staying connected, staying involved. Those would be my biggest tips. And then just being like, letting your personality shine through this. Like, you don't have to be some stiff insurance agent. Like, you don't need to be some salesman. Just be you, like that's why I'm winning. Cause I don't care that I'm not some perfect salesperson when I show up at their house. What else, Mike?
For sure. So wrap it up with this. We're almost out of time. What are some of the mistakes you made brand new? And like when you were brand new, what are some things that maybe you were hard on yourself for, and you were really hard on yourself, and knowing what you know now back then, like what would 10 month into the business Rachel tell 2 week into the business Rachel, when you were struggling, when people were hanging up on you, when you were in the homes and you didn't make the sales? Like, what are some things that you can tell some of the new people on the call that if they commit to a certain process and go to the events, obviously everything will be okay, and what their future can look like? Because you've already made over $18,000 this month. And I don't know any other business where you can get licensed for $150 and go make 20 grand a month in year one. So what would you say to the new person?
I would say you cannot get distracted. You need to learn how to discipline your disappointment, because in the beginning, I feel like there's just, it's a lot. Like, it can be overwhelming. Like, don't get overwhelmed by the process. Know that you're going to learn this. This is a whole new industry. Like, give grace to yourself on the appointments that you don't sell, to the appointments that you make mistakes, and then just learn from them. Like, write down after every appointment, hey, I wish I would have done this different, or talk it over with somebody so that you're not making the same mistakes over and over. And then when I get coaching from anybody, I literally write it down, like, so that I can reread, okay, what do I do? What do I do here? What do I do here? And that way I don't ever have to go back to them again, asking for the exact same coaching. So my biggest mistake in the beginning was that I didn't believe enough in the business, which, I was scared. I'd never done anything like this. Like, the leads I felt was scary, like spending money to make money, which makes sense. Right. But not just invest in the leads, like trust yourself, and then do enough activity that you can actually win. Like, do exactly what Nick has told us to do week in week, and what Mark has told us to do, that run 20 appointments for 4 weeks and see how much money is in your bank account. And if you guys are just doing this part-time, that's fine. Do that part-time. Then which is exactly what I did in the beginning. You have to, on the days that you're going to run the business. Don't be talking to your friends on the call, because somebody didn't show up at your appointment. Go do a door knock. Like, the time that you spend doing the business, do the business, and don't get, you have to do income producing activity. And I just wish I would have done more in the beginning. And I'm happy with, what I had then. And now I know that we really can have everything that they tell us that we can have. So just believe in yourself, y'all. Stay committed, network within our team, network within the company, have an accountability partner, get yourself to family reunion. And I would say that that's everything. And then just loving these people, like, love the clients, be different. Show them how much you care, and they will feel it, and they're going to want to refer you. You're going to make so much money in referrals just because you're different. You don't have to worry about somebody coming behind you and selling, because, they're like you. So those are my biggest tips. And I'm so grateful I got to do this call. Thank you all for sharing your Sunday night with me and let me jump on.
Awesome. Appreciate it, Rachel. We'll see you guys on the next call. Let's have a killer